Y'all, thank you for being here. I know it's been a long day, and hopefully we'll be out here soon. So, if you would, please stand for the pledge of allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated, please. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Motion from Mr. Davis, second from Mr. Joyner. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passed. Are there any additions to the agenda? No groups or petitions here tonight. Would anyone like to remove any item from the consent agenda for discussion? If not, do we have a motion to approve? Motion, Mr. Farrell, second, Mr. Shipley. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passed. Dr. Bird, Director of Instructional Report. Strategic plan.
Thank you, Mr. Marty. Just a few things tonight. In your packet, we've provided you a copy of our 5-year strategic plan from last year. The items marked in red are those action steps that we've either completed or are currently working on. And then the yellow highlighted items are action steps that are set to be completed this year. I guess what I'm most excited about is one of our goals that was 2 or 3 years out. But under goal 1, action step 2, we're very much ahead of our goal because this year we have ordered a device for all of our students in grades K-12, And although we haven't received any of those yet, we are hopeful that we will receive those before Christmas, but we're still waiting on shipment details. But we did want to just give you an update of where we are on our strategic plan. The second thing I want to share with you tonight, it was added to your packet, I think, when you arrived tonight, but we've given you a handout on our EPSOs, as we call them, early post-secondary opportunities, and that shows the number of students in each high school who are currently enrolled in some type of EPSO. And with the addition this year of statewide dual credit, we have an increase of 755 students from last year. So great job by our high schools on their EPSOs. And just to make you aware, total youth leadership began yesterday for this year's high school students, and we have 15 students from Brighton High School and Covington High School who applied and were selected to participate in total youth leadership. And then the last thing I have, American Education Week is this month, and Munford Elementary sent some treats for you tonight. So the cookie and the cards that were in front of you are from Munford Elementary. And I also want to read just a short letter that they sent to you all. At Munford Elementary School, during the week of November 16th, we will be recognizing groups of people who have a positive impact on the lives and educations of our students. To that end, we want to recognize you today as part of our American Education Week activities. Thank you for all that you do for the teachers, staff, and students of Munford Elementary School. Your service to education in this county is appreciated greatly. Not all heroes wear capes. Many work on the Tipton County School Board. And that's from Munford Elementary. Of course, we echo those sentiments. And that is all I have, Mr. Chairman, unless someone has questions.
Anybody got any questions? Thank you, Dr. Bird. Dr. Fisher, Director of Operations.
Good evening. In early March of 2020, we submitted a grant application to USDA for a distance learning grant. Through Dr. Combs' leadership at the district, you know that we've been looking for opportunities to provide more technology for our students and for our teachers. And we're excited to share the news with you tonight that we received the USDA distance learning grant in the amount of $976,742 with a matching amount that will be in excess of $1 million for this grant. So the grant funds will be used to provide interactive distance learning network that will allow real-time connection for our teachers, opportunities for remote classrooms, access to post-secondary institutions, as well as access to other educational and cultural venues, such as virtual field trips. The grant funds will be used to purchase interactive display boards and high-tech cameras for each of our schools, just to make you aware of that. So amid the pandemic, we've been able to support another strategic goal, as Dr. Bird has shared with you, for increasing technology for our students and for our teachers. Mr. Chairman, I will need a motion tonight for Tipton County School District to enter into this agreement with USDA and Rural Utilities Service for the distance learning grant.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Shipley, second by Ms. Rozelle. That's a good.
It's awesome.
Great.
It is.
Awesome. I'm just gonna, any questions or any comments about the grant? We're just so glad to get it. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passed.
Mr. Fields will now come and share enrollment information, followed by Ms. Yarbrough, who will share the latest COVID update for you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. To give you a brief update, with the coronavirus and distance learning, this is probably the only time that a student not turning in their homework, like the packets we have out there, are not logging on to their computer to do their work, is contingent on them being absent. And it's not just us, most of the school districts are doing this. So for instance, if a kid doesn't pick up his work or turn in his work, and he's a distance learner, the teacher is counting him absent. Now when you get 10 or 12 unexcused absentees, then you become truant. And it's hard to justify if you refer a kid to court or something like that. The judge is going to ask me, so he didn't do his work, so he's absent. So what if the student is at school and doesn't do his work? He just fails. So we're at a point now where we're encouraging students that are not doing their work, the students that are not turning in their packets, we're encouraging them to come back face to face. And that's a tough call, but a lot of them are just taking advantage of the situation and staying at home and doing nothing. I commend our directors for coming up with a contract for them to sign if they're going to continue to be a distance learner with protocol and criteria in it. So if you sign off, that means you're going to do these things, you're going to do your work. And I think that's due by December the 11th. And that gives us a little more teeth, a little more power to say, hey, if you're not going to do what you're supposed to do, we want you to stay at home if you're, afraid of coming in contact with COVID. I mean, that's common sense. But if you're not going to do your work, we don't want to fail you. You got to consider coming back face to face. With that, to just give you, saying that, September the 2nd, when I did an update, we had 65% of our kids were face to face. 33% of our kids were distance learners. As of today, 19% of our kids are distance learners. Now, some of that came after the first progress report, and a lot of them were failing. I commend our social workers going out, knocking on doors, trying to get them to come to school. Our SROs doing the same thing. So it took a lot of work. And I think after this contract, it'll get even better. But again, I still want to reiterate, we're not saying making them come to school, but we are encouraging them if they're not going to do their work. Couple more updates. Open enrollment applications, obviously that wouldn't change. It's 2/24 and that window is closed. One piece of good news, out of district transfers, we had 12 in September. We have 17 now. So that's 17 times 750, isn't it, Dr. Combs? We had 154 kids that were not registered online, and that's down to 81. Those kids are in the district, but we're trying to get everybody registered online from this point on. Whenever we register in the summer, they'll register online. We went up 12 students from 10,383 to 10,395. That's a plus 12 in the first 9 weeks. That doesn't sound like very much, but when you've been losing 150 to 200 kids a year for the last 10 years, and you got plus 12 in the first 9 weeks, I think that's pretty good news.
In the midst of COVID.
In the midst of COVID, we're gaining kids. In September, kids under 18 that dropped out, that's down to 9. That's a difference of 8. And that just means we found them. You know, we went and got them, and they're back in school. But unfortunately, the kids over 18, we had 4 that dropped out, and we didn't get them back. Actually, we're up to 7 now. And that's not great, but, you know. Another good thing, I think, is Tipton Christian Academy and Tipton Rosemark, we lost 26 kids to them. That was the note in September, and that number hasn't changed. So we're not losing kids to our private schools that are close to us. And actually, I get calls all the time. What do we do to get back into Tipton County schools? So I created our administration for that. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeland.
Good evening. I was sitting there thinking about, gosh, numbers and numbers and numbers. I don't think y'all want to keep hearing a bunch of numbers, but you know, that's what we got for you. As far as COVID-19, there's been no changes in contact tracing as far as the CDC or the health department protocol. It's still, well, the 15-minute rule changed. It's not consecutive. It's that's terrible, I should know that word. You can, whatever amount of time you spend with the child, cumulative, goodness, I should have wrote this down. Instead of consecutive 15 minutes, it's a cumulative 15 minutes within 6 feet of someone could get you quarantined. We haven't had any trouble with that, but that is one change the CDC had made, but everything else is still the same. Just to give you a little bit different numbers than what we've had before, I know Dr. Combs had asked me to put together some numbers for a report that TOS will be doing. Since August 24th, since the beginning of our schools, we've quarantined 926 students have been quarantined. Out of those 926 quarantines, only 288 were quarantined by a school exposure, meaning we had a positive in a classroom and had to send close contacts home. The rest of those 926 were either a household exposure or a kid that had to be quarantined because of something going on with the family or some weekend event, but it was not because of schools. We've had 110 quarantined staff since August 24th. We've had 76 positive students. Now this is not including this week. This was as of last week. And 53 positive staff since August 24th. After Friday and this week, our number of positive staff has gone up to 67 total for the year. As far as students or staff becoming positive because of a school exposure, we estimate 5 students and 2 staff members. And that's, you can't prove that, but that if we had to trace that, we could say those 5 may have contracted from a student or someone at school. As of last week, we reported with the state that we had 17 positive students and 9 positive staff. Already this week, we have 13 positive staff, so our number's gone up from last week with staff members. So if anything's putting a burden on us right now, it's the need of having to have so many subs in there. And a lot of times when that staff member is out, even a family member who may be a staff member will have to be quarantined. So a lot of times you have 2 staff members instead of 1 because of 1 positive in a household. So that's all I have, unless y'all have some questions or comments.
What do you think the trend is right now since school started? Is it going down, or do you think it's maintaining, or?
Well, the trend, we were doing well until fall break. And I still think overall we're doing a really good job because we don't have a lot of positive students. We have a lot of quarantine students, but that's just the way it is if they're going to be in the building together. And that's the protocol of what the CDC and Health Department requires. If they didn't require the 6-foot, 15-minute thing, we wouldn't have to send as many home. But right now also we've got a lot of flu and strep cases, a lot more people with seasonal allergies. We have more people getting tested now, so you're going to see those numbers go up. But I think overall for Tipton County, we're going up. So whatever the community's going to be doing is what you're going to see in the schools. So.
Are you able to, when you give the temperature, have you been able to identify the kids?
With taking their temperatures?
Yeah, when you do the temperature in the morning, have you been able?
If you take a temperature and they have one, you know, we send them home, but we have had very few have temperatures. Majority of students have other symptoms besides a fever, and staff too. But we're still taking those temps.
And I'll say this too, I mean, as far as, you know, y'all heard it at the last board meeting. I think the most annoying part of this for parents and everybody else is the quarantine part. But those are the guidelines we have to follow. But that's been the most burdensome for parents and students and everybody is, you know, having to send healthy kids home. And it is annoying. Staff members as well. But that's just part of it. But, you know, that was the point I know she was making at the last board meeting, and it was an accurate point. I mean, that is aggravating. So.
Well, and because it's 14 days, you know, you quarantine for 14. If you're positive, you stay home 10 days. And a lot of people have a lot of trouble figuring out how come I have to stay longer if I'm not even sick. Well, that's to keep you from getting sick, and that's what the health department wants us to stress also, that we say we're sending healthy kids home, but that's the reason for it. You want to send them home so they're not exposing anyone else, or if they were to become sick, they would already be home and be quarantined.
What if they're at home like 14 days, and on the 10th day they get it? They have to stay another 10, right?
Right. And we have already had some staff members that this is their second go-round. Either they've been quarantined once because of a household person, or either they've been positive and now they're having to quarantine. So, and that's another thing. It's a lot of days out for them.
And we're also starting to see some Tipton County residents who have now had it twice. You know, that rumor floating around that you can't get it again?
That's not right.
You can.
Yes.
And we have residents in Tipton County that have proven that fact. I mean, you may be good for 3 or 4 months maybe.
90 days.
Yeah.
But now we've had a couple that are and they're testing positive. A lot of them have tested positive, not because they've been sick, but because they're having some kind of medical procedure and they're required to go get a test, and then surprisingly, they're positive. So then they have to still quarantine even before, you know, even if they have no symptoms.
Sherry, those students who are out a prolonged period of time, do they automatically go into distant learning?
They become temporary distance learners, so they don't miss school. Yeah.
Interesting information. It changes every month.
I know, it does.
Once and for us.
Yeah,
sure.
and today in itself was a busy day.
Any other questions for Ms. Yarborough?
Chairman, I also want to give a shout out to Ms. Sherry. You know, this is not her job to do, and she took this on as of last March when all this stuff started happening, and she is the district COVID contact. And I'll tell you what, you talk about burning up some fuel and miles going to she's been everywhere, and it's been really difficult. She's had to talk to a lot of mad folks and make some tough, but she's done a really, really good job.
We thank you for that.
Appreciate it. Well, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
All right, thank you, Ms. Yarborough. Ms. Peggy Murdoch, financial report.
Good evening. I do not have a financial report for you all tonight because we're meeting a week early. The trustee's office has had some quarantine issues as well as a death in one person's family, and they just did not get the revenue to us for this meeting. So I still don't have it. As soon as I get it from them, I'll fill in the blanks and then pass it on to Dr. Combs, and he can send it out to you guys. But I can't give you anything that I don't have. So that's a short meeting tonight for sure. So we do have one amendment that we have to take care of for in the special education IDEA program. We had a couple of people who, when they presented themselves with their paperwork at the beginning of the year, one of them said that they were a contracted person, but she had no documentation to say that she was. So we went on and put her as an employee. Well, now we have to fix it because she gave us the information that we needed at the beginning. So if you'll look in that section that's highlighted in yellow, is yours highlighted? Yes? Okay, good. All we did was move money within that category so that we could move that person's salary where it needed to be. So the $8,000 was put into the teacher line item, $30,000 was put into other salaries and wages, that $189, and $3,000 was put into medical insurance. Somebody got insurance that they weren't suspecting that they would, and it was going to cost $3,000 more than what they had allocated. And so all of that money had to come away from those items down at the bottom. So they took $23,000 out of contracted services, which is where she was going to be paid, $3,000 for instructional supplies, and $15,000 for other supplies and materials to make up for the money that needed to go into the salary lines. So everything is in there. Next month, now that you all have approved that grant that Dr. Fisher worked on, now we will bring that to you next month and then take all of that to the county commission in January. So if you can approve this, I'll be finished.
We have a motion to approve the amended budget items as presented. Motion by Mr. Joyner, second by Ms. McClurkin. Are there any questions about it? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
Thank you very much. Any questions about the revenue report? We'll get it to you as soon as I get the information.
Thank you, Ms. Murdoch.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Coleman, do you have anything to add?
Just,
So.
I know, Joe, just a couple. I had to catch up from last time, right? So I have to say a couple things. Number one, I just kind of want to let you all know, so across our region, there are two school systems that are completely in person. Chester County is one that's completely in person. Now, they have a digital component for those that just don't want to come, and they have that total distance. But as far as a hybrid type plan, they're completely in person, and Hardin County is completely in person. Two school systems right now currently are remote only. They don't have any face-to-face instruction. Fayette County and Shelby County have just remote instruction. And all the rest of these counties are doing something similar to what we're doing, some form or fashion of a hybrid plan. Like, where we're doing 4 days face-to-face and then Fridays complete distance learning. They're doing something similar. Our neighbors Haywood over here, he just announced a couple weeks ago that for the rest of their 2021, for the rest of the school year, they're keeping their same schedule, and it's an every other day schedule. So K through 8 goes every other day, and then their high school, I see freshmen and sophomores come Monday, Wednesday, Friday, juniors and seniors go Tuesday, Thursday. Mm-hmm. It's just, but they're doing that for the rest of the year through May. So everybody's on a little different plan, but Arlington, Bartlett, Collierville, Decatur, Germantown, Hardeman, Haywood, Henderson, Lakeland, Lauderdale, Lexington, Madison, McNairy, Millington, Tipton, and West Tennessee School for the Deaf are all on a similar, some type of hybrid plan. So if anyone says we're kind of out there on an island, we're not. I mean, we're really in line with what most other folks are doing. In some form or fashion, they're doing some kind of a hybrid schedule. Quite frankly, meeting 4 days, we're meeting more than a lot do. So anyway, I just want to share that with you. And a couple other things. If you notice in here tonight that it feels like we're sitting on the surface of the sun, it's because we changed all the lighting in here to LED. So the whole building has been changed out to LED lighting. We should hopefully, where's Miss Peggy, start seeing some energy savings before too long. So, we'd already done all the outside lighting. That was part of the capital improvement plan. And now we're moving to the inside lighting. So we're changing here, the CO2 Technology Media Center, we're going to start changing that out inside. And then we're already moving into schools and changing those out. So you'll be able to tell, you can notice everything's the same color. That's one thing. You can still remove bulbs if it's too bright, but the ballast had to be changed out and all that kind of good stuff. So the lighting is better, no shadows are cast, that kind of thing. It's really clean light, but it's going to be clean burning and more energy efficient, we hope. But I think you can tell the difference in here. It's really bright. The bathrooms are, I want to take a couple bulbs out of those. We're seeing too much in there that we want to see.
I thought my eyesight was getting better.
However you want to try, that's fine too. But we're going to keep doing that. And then I want to tell you along those same lines, we're going to continue with the capital improvement update. We're basically in year 3 of that 5-year plan. So we're going to make some adjustments this year. And then we're putting out, I've already met with the foreman and with Barnett to see what we're doing for these next 2 years after this one to continue out that 5-year plan. Y'all have already approved over $3 million plus in the budget that we've put toward capital improvement already. That's already done. So thank you for that. We've seen a lot of good vibes from the schools, from those that say, hey, we really see things getting done, and we appreciate y'all letting us do that. But we're going to continue that. We're not going to stop. So I should have something for you hopefully in the December meeting, and I'll give you kind of an idea of what that new strategic, the rest of that capital improvement plan is going to look like. And so you can kind of look at those numbers, and then after you see it, we'll present it to the county commission and see what that ask might be from them for additional monies that we'll need to continue that capital improvement. We're talking about HVAC systems, more roofs that need to be replaced or fixed, more interiors and boilers replaced, things like that, just continual upkeep. So, and a lot of those things have already been purchased, but we're going to keep doing that. Yes, sir? Tennis courts, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tennis courts, absolutely. And we're also looking at maybe adding a few things like some lighting. We have 3 high school soccer fields now, so maybe adding some lighting to those soccer fields. Just adding as we go some different things to make, just continue to improve and make those things look better. But hopefully in December we'll have that for you, and you'll be able to take a look at that and see what you think.
Dr. Combs is on top of the capital improvements. That's one of his #1 priorities. He's done a fantastic job as far as getting us kind of back to where we need to be.
Thank you. It's been a group effort, but thank you.
It's been a group effort, but it's been a good effort.
Yes, sir.
Fine effort. So, does anybody else have any comments?
I have a question. Someone kind of put it to me, but what about the concert, we're coming into the school year and Christmas concert season and stuff like that? Is that going to be allowed, or what's the?
That is a great question. We've gone through this, Steve and Sherry and everybody will tell you, we've had a lot of input about that. We'll say that. We have to still follow the guidelines. I know at one point one of the bands had talked about being in the Christmas parade, and so we talked about that. They would have to march in their, all spread apart, blown out in their formation as they go up, instruments covered, the horns and stuff will have to have a cover on the instrument, all that kind of stuff, and we're still going through all that to determine how that's going to work. Christmas concerts is going to be different too, because you can't fit the whole group in there at the same time. They may have to perform 2 or 3 different concerts in smaller groups. I mean, we're going through that right now, trying to make those determinations. But we're trying not to completely shut those down. We're trying to let the kids be involved in that, because it's a great thing, and I know they're missing out. But at the same time, we have to follow those guidelines, or it'll be everywhere. So, yes, sir. So the answer is yes, but we're working on what that process is going to look like.
I'll be here before you know it.
Yes, sir.
We hadn't had any problem with athletics, have with football.
Not, I mean, here and there, we've had some folks quarantined, cheerleading. Some of those have been quarantined, but not as many as we would think we would have. We thought we were going to have a big issue at one of the schools for tomorrow night, one of the football teams for tomorrow night. It turned out the person tested negative, and so that's all good. But here and there, not too bad, not enough to really stop some things. Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Dr. Combs? We thank y'all and the staff for all you do. Y'all, I know y'all had a tough year, and hey, and it's not over. I mean, we still got a lot of work to do.
We discussed it the last principals. We're Zooming every week with the principals.
Right.
That was actually one of the principals' idea, and it was a great idea. Miss Sabrina at Brighton Middle, actually, it was her idea, and it's been a great idea. So we've got to kind of keep in touch every week with a Zoom meeting with everyone, and that's been really handy. But one of the things we talked about last week was that, number one, you can't compare this year to anything else. I've told them you need to stop doing that. Don't let anybody tell you different. You can't. It's completely different. Nobody's been through this before. So from academics to athletics to everything, you can't compare it to anything else because this is new territory. It's uncharted. And they've really worked hard and done a great job. But the whole thing's been a big learning experience. We'll know more for second semester than we do for first semester. We're going to know more next year than we did this year. So it's just going to be a continual learning curve. But I think we're on a good track.
We're gonna have a lot more technology.
Yes, sir. We hope. Yes, sir.
That's
When it gets here.
There's a lot more technology because of the COVID.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's something good has come out of it. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Silver lining.
Exactly. If there's nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Davidson, second by Mr. Shipley.